The Muslims became very powerful in Medina too. It was now the time to go to war with their religious enemies, and the Muslims were ready to spare their lives in the name of Allah. With this goal in mind, many wars were fought. It was one day during the month of Ramadan. The army of Islam moved forward from Medina. Their leader was our Prophet, and they were going to fight with the polytheists at Badr. Our Prophet's white flag had been carried by Hadrat Musab. The army of Islam had two other flags as well. There were about 300 Muslims. Our Prophet didn't see himself any differently from the other Muslims. He was taking turns on riding his camel with someone else. When it was the other person's turn to ride and our Prophet's turn to walk, the people said, "Dear Prophet, you keep riding. We're happy to carry on walking." But our Prophet didn't accept this and said, "You are no stronger at walking than me. I want to walk in the way of Allah." The army of Islam had progressed forward. There was someone in the army who had disguised themselves. That person was the son of Abu Waqqas, Umair. He was only young, but his belief was powerful and he was very brave. He was willing to fight against the enemies of religion. He wanted to be close to our Prophet. So for these reasons, he joined the army that was going to war. But he had one fear. He was afraid that our Prophet might see him and send him back. And so this is the reason he was in disguise. At one point, his big brother Saad saw him and asked, "What's happening here, little brother?" Umair answered, "I was afraid of being told to turn back. I want to be in that battle because I want to fight for Allah and for my religion. I am ready to die for Islam." What Umair was worried would happen all along happened, and they recognized him. They took him to our Prophet. Earlier, our Prophet had sent back 2 boys for being too young, and so he also said to Umair, "You must go back too, Umair." Umair felt very sad and started crying. When our Prophet saw him cry, he said, "All right then, I will let you stay." Umair's sadness suddenly turned into joy, and his eyes were shining with happiness. Now he had the opportunity to fight with the enemy for his religion. Umair, who was young but had a strong belief and courage, had his wish come true, but at the Battle of Badr, he bravely fought against the enemy and died for Islam. The battle in Badr had become fierce and violent. The Muslims attacked with cries of Allah, Allah. The sound of the swords clashing had mixed with the cries of Allahu Akbar. Our Prophet would sometimes go to the front lines of the battle in order to encourage and support the fighting Muslims. He would tell the soldiers that Allah would grant those who fought patiently to go to heaven. The other fighters of Islam who heard this used their swords with more enthusiasm. No one could equal our Prophet with his courage and heroism. He took his place at the front lines at the hardest time of the battle, without feeling fear, unwillingness, or worry. Hadrat Ali told people what happened on that day. On the day of the Battle of Badr, when the fighting became very violent, we took refuge in our Prophet. He was the most courageous and most heroic person on that day. During the battle, one of the Muslim soldiers asked, "Dear Prophet, who would Allah be thankful to for doing something?" Our Prophet replied, "The person who uses his sword until his arm can no longer hold it." Upon this, that fighter of Islam grabbed his sword and fought bravely until he died for Islam. It was one of the fiercest times of the battle. A Sahabi by the name of Ukashe broke his sword. He ran up to our Prophet and he gave Ukashe a thick stick and said, "Hey Ukashe, fight with this." Ukashe was shocked. There was a mad army standing opposite him. What could he possibly do with a thick stick? But then, what did he see? The thick stick had turned into a sword. He was now holding a sharp and shining sword. He was totally amazed. He fought with this sword until the war was over. The flat terrain of Badr had become very crowded. Our Prophet was praying to Allah in order for them to win the battle. At the same time, he was encouraging the fighters of Islam. He was trying to keep their spirits, hopes, and courage alive. At one point, he knelt down and picked up a handful of sand. He threw it towards the enemy and said, "Let their faces turn black, dear Allah. Let their hearts fill with fear." He then ordered to his soldiers behind him, "Attack." The Muslim soldiers suddenly attacked and with the speed of lightning went towards the enemy line. Hadrat Ali was using his sword with courage and a force that was never seen before. One of the soldiers called, "Hey Ali, come here, let's get even." Hadrat Ali was a great hero. He feared no one but Allah. He took his place in front of the religious enemy and they started fighting with their swords. Ali used his shield to protect himself. The sword of his enemy got stuck in his shield, and now it was time for Ali to make his move. He struck his sword into his enemy and moved it from his shoulder down to his chest. He had cut his enemy's armor, and the enemy was stunned. Hadrat Ali then noticed that the sword was shining right behind him. He lowered his head very quickly, and at the same time, the soldier was saying, "Now it's my turn." Afterwards, he saw a soldier's head get cut off. Hadrat Ali then turned around and came eye to eye with Hadrat Hamza. He was the one who had cut the soldier's head off. Hamza had been fighting with two swords, one in each hand. Hadrat Ali didn't know what it was like to get tired. He was attacking his enemy with all his might. He then came up against a very strong enemy soldier called Nafal. Hadrat Ali lifted his sword with all his strength, and the enemy soldier fell down to the ground. Our Prophet felt very happy to hear that another enemy had been taken down and sent to hell. He called, "Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar." Another sword-fighting hero was Abu Dujane. No one could stay alive after fighting him. At one point, he came up against one of the enemy soldiers. A soldier by the name of Madeb wielded his sword. Abu Dujane knelt down quickly and his enemy missed. He quickly got up again and now it was his turn. The enemy tried to escape to protect himself from the sword, but he tumbled over a piece of rock and fell into a hole. Even though Abu Dujane began the attack, Allah was the one to finally kill him. The forces of Islam had defeated most of the enemy. Those who were killed were the most courageous soldiers of the enemy army. For this reason, the enemy had fallen into a sense of fear. They were afraid that their commander Abu Jahil might get killed. So, in order to protect him, they circled around him. They were also very cunning and thought of an idea. One of them dressed up like Abu Jahil, and by doing this they tried to protect him. This was because every Muslim wanted to kill Abu Jahil. Between them, they were thinking of a way to kill him. Hadrat Ali saw the fake Abu Jahil and moved towards him. He killed the man with one strike of his sword. Abu Jahil himself saw what happened and made another one of his soldiers dress like him. This time, Hadrat Hamza moved towards the fake Abu Jahl and killed him. Again, the enemy dressed someone else like Abu Jahl, and he was also killed by Hadrat Ali. Last of all, they tried to convince a man called Khalid to dress up like Abu Jahl, but he refused. He had seen the others get killed and was afraid. The enemy had no other choice and tried to protect their commander with all their might. However, they knew that all of the Muslims were willing to kill him. They looked for Abu Jahl everywhere and attacked the areas where he was. At one moment, they noticed two young men in the Muslim army. It was apparent that they were looking for someone. They asked Hadrat Abdurrahman bin Auf, "Dear uncle, do you know Abu Jahl?" He replied, "Yes, I do. Why are you looking for him? What are you going to do?" The young men answered, "We heard that he talks badly of our Prophet. Apparently, they curse him. If we ever see him, then either we will kill him or he will kill us." Hadrat Abdurrahman was surprised. These two young men were full of love for their Prophet. At that moment, Abdurrahman's eyes caught Abu Jahl and he said, "There he is." The men went in his direction as if they were arrows released from a bow. They had swords in their hands, and Abu Jahl was riding on a horse with a long tail. At that moment, another soldier wielded his sword towards Abu Jahl's feet. The young men got to him and killed him with their swords. After that, they went to our Prophet and gave him the good news. Our Prophet asked, "Which one of you killed him?" One of the young men said that he had. Our Prophet asked again, "Did you wipe your swords?" They replied, "No." Our Prophet looked at both of their swords and saw that they were covered in blood. He then said, "Both of you killed him at the same time." Abu Jahl went to hell by the help of these two young men. The Battle of Badr was now over. Our Prophet's uncle Abbas was among those people who were taken as slaves. He hadn't become a Muslim then. He was very rich and had brought much gold to Badr. He was thinking about spending it on his companions if it was needed. But things didn't go the way he thought it would, and his gold was taken from him during the battle. The gold was added to the rest of the loot that was taken from the Muslims. He was taken as a slave at the same time. The slaves were being fed in return of some money. This was a war rule. Our Prophet asked his uncle, "Abbas, you are rich. You can pay the freedom money both for you and your brother's son's life." Hadrat Abbas didn't have anything left because the gold he had brought with him was taken from him. He said to our Prophet, "Consider the gold that was taken from me during the battle as my payment for freedom." Our Prophet didn't accept this offer and replied, "No, you had brought that gold to use against us, but Allah granted it to us. We cannot give it back to you." Abbas then started begging, "I don't have anything else but that money. Should I beg?" Our Prophet asked, "Where is that gold then?" Hadrat Abbas was confused and asked, "What gold?" Our Prophet explained to him, "I'm talking about the day that you were leaving Mecca. You gave your wife lots of gold." Hadrat Abbas was totally confused. What our Prophet was saying was true as always. Before Abbas left for the journey, he gave lots of gold to his wife, but no one knew anything about that. Where did our Prophet hear about this? He then asked, "Who told you about this?" Our beloved Prophet answered, "Allah, who sees and knows all secrets, informed me." Hazrat Abbas then thought about it for a while. There was no other possibility. Only Allah could know about things that were done in secret. Not long after, he confessed his faith in Allah and became a Muslim. Hazrat Abbas then returned to Mecca. From now on, he was determined to help our Prophet and the Muslims. However, he didn't tell the people of Mecca that he had become a Muslim. He wanted to find out about all of their secrets, and the people of Mecca would tell him everything. Abbas informed our Prophet in Medina about what was going on in Mecca whenever he found the opportunity. This way, the secrets of the enemy were revealed.